So this is your July and August 2025 market update for the coastal Maryland and Delaware area. So you're going to want to stick around. I'm going to go over all the key things that you would want to know, with interest rates, all the stats, the data, and more so, I always like to finish off just giving some real experiences of helping buyers and sellers every day on the ground here in the area. So what's going on, everybody? This is Rich, your local coastal Maryland and Delaware realtor. So I get people that reach out all the time and I love it. Never too busy to help. I'm going to put my contact information down below in the description. Don't be shy, reach out. But without further ado, let's hop into the market update. So let's look at the interest rate to kind of kick it off. Of course, I'm on here on the Freddie Mac website. It is September when I'm recording this, so you get a little sneak peek here, but you can see where the 30-year fix is sitting at the 6.5%. Start back in July, what that rate is looking like here. So you can see July started out at 6.67%, kind of inched up a little bit, then came back down, 6.7, then coming into August, 6.6, 6.58. It's kind of hovering down there. And of course, ended up ending right around that 6.56. And of course, you can see as of today, which today is September 4th, it's sitting at that 6.5%. So rates have been coming down. They announced there's a little bit of soft job market. So that was one of the things that kind of pushed it down, which any little help is good for buyers and makes things, a bit more affordable / palatable to get out the market. So obviously there has been uptick on mortgage applications, but that is your update there on the mortgage rate. But let's hop over to some data. So I'm hopping in here, and of course this is for Sussex County and Worcester County, kind of your coastal Maryland and Delaware area, July and August, and consolidating the 2 months, coming out of the summer here. And let's look at some of the numbers here. So medium home pricing, so over on Sussex County, you're looking at $437,000 for July. Then August, it was a bit higher at $450,000. Year to date, still higher than 2024 levels, and holding steady there. There's a lot of new construction going on over on the Delaware side. But Worcester County, $404,000 July, then $437,000 in August. So they had a strong rebound there. A little dip in July, which I mentioned before. July is kind of like one of the slower months in the summer, and still a lot of activity going on, but it does kind of pull back there towards the end of June, July, which I'll show you some more charts in the actual MLS of buyer activity, which I like when we go over that. And so this is showing inventory. So we've had more inventory, which is a good thing because it's always been low ever since the pandemic. And this is Sussex County, the 15% year-over-year increase from last year. Like again, a lot of new construction. Of course, that's a lot larger county too. Maryland side, Worcester County, that's a 19% year-over-year increase since last year. A lot of that I think is, of course, in Ocean City, a little bit more condos coming on. And there's some opportunity with certain condos and condo buildings, which I'll talk about a little bit more. And I've mentioned in past videos too, with special assessments, and some owners have to sell to kind of pay off some of those. But luckily with these reserve studies and inspections, that big special assessments like that won't happen in the future. So days on the market, this is a key data point I always like to look at. You can see average between pretty much both counties are sitting right at around that 65 days on the market average, and this shows cumulative days on the market. And so if you're looking, that 2 month mark is about average, and if you have your property priced correctly, you can expect about 2 months for you to get it under contract, so to speak. So, and I've had somewhere, which I'm going to show you some examples, gone under contract within the first week, some maybe within 3 weeks to a month. So there are still moving pretty quickly. If it's priced right, turnkey, conditions good, it's still moving pretty steady there too. So let's talk about absorption rate. Months of inventory. This is a nice data point to pay attention to. Sussex County, there's 4.5 to 4.9 months of supply. So it's been increasing a bit, and it's not quite towards a balanced market, but it's getting there, and it feels like it out there with sellers and buyers. Things are sitting a little bit longer, a little bit more choices, to choose from there too. So more competition if you're selling. Of course, buyers and more choices, which always benefits that side there. In Worcester County, it's 5.3 to 5.4 months of supply, July and August there. Just a tick higher than Sussex County on the Delaware side. So I mentioned these a little bit. 15% year-over-year change for Sussex County and 19% for the Worcester County on the Maryland side in inventory. Pricing has been holding steady, and it's actually increased. It shows in August versus July, which is a pretty typical sometimes dip that it takes a little bit. So demand is still out there, and there's still pricing stability. Like I said, there's some parts of or condo buildings, so forth, especially in Worcester County, Ocean City, that have softened up on their pricing. It can be some good opportunities, for buyers. Of course, the little longer days on the market too. You could be on Delaware or Maryland side. If you have something a little bit that's sitting, particularly if it's a little bit overpriced too, which is probably making it sit a little longer. Sometimes you can grab a good deal on some of those, and the seller, depending on the timing, may be more willing to negotiate. Good thing, for sellers, I think the most important thing here, which I'm going to go over a couple of scenarios, is the price right off the bat when you go on the market, based on the condition of the home, the location, and what it offers, and kind of see, I would compare particularly what else is on the market and what buyers have to choose from to make sure that you're competitive. And again, you're not just sitting out there getting stale on the market there. That's the big thing. Advantage too, especially this time of year, I'll show you some stats there, but mid-August, it starts to tick back up into our second selling season. And pricing has been holding steady and appreciating in both counties, mainly for most homes. That's a good thing if you're looking to sell, obviously, on that side. So, and if you're buying, the good thing about that is you have more choices out there. The interest rate is getting a little bit better inch by inch. I know every little, movement on that helps, downward, and you get more choices out there. And, sellers, I think, are a little bit more open to negotiating in terms. And of course, if you're looking for a condo in certain buildings, you can really snag a good deal on some of these. So while we're talking about some of the numbers, I hopped into the MLS here, and I'm going to look in some different areas to show you the buyer index activity chart, which I like because it really gives you some insight. So we're going to pull up a listing, doesn't matter which one here in Ocean City, if I can get it to work here. And here it is, the home demand index here chart for particularly Ocean City. You can see it rates it as steady, which it has been. And what I like the most about here, of course, we're talking about July and August. You can see here July, coming into August, there's that upswing there, which that'll continue. When I do one for September, continue to rise there into usually October, then it starts to cool off a little bit. But look at this compared to last year, 2025, July. We can just scroll right over here to July 2024. You see the big difference in the demand there. We had a lot larger dip back in 2024 in July and August, but you can see it's a good amount higher, and it's going to continue on that path here as we go into to the fall in September. So that's in Ocean City. Let's check out Ocean View, popular spot, a little west of Bethany. You can see their demand here is moderate, a little step up from Ocean City. Their chart looks a lot different here, but I just want to compare. Here's July, August. See their upswing here coming into August, and a huge difference versus July 2024. Look at this. Look at that big gap there. Yeah, so totally different from last year. Right there in Ocean View. Let's check out somewhere in Lewes, Rehoboth area. Lewes is always, year round, seem to have that demand, and it goes pretty strong. I think you get a little bit more year round living in this area. A lot of people retiring or set to retire in the Lewes area. It might be a beach home, second home, but eventually going to live there full time. But look at their chart, their demand high as you can get there. And that's usually what that looks like in Lewes. A lot of new communities over this way. But let's look at July here versus last year, and again they're a good amount higher than they were July 2024. So big difference. 2025 it's been pretty steady. I think overall transactions have been down, but by the looks of this, I haven't looked at those numbers exactly, but I bet you that they would be higher than 2024 in the coastal Maryland and Delaware area. I've been fortunate. Last year I was very steady, but this year I am a little bit ahead of 2024. But that gives you an idea of actual buyer activity, straight from the MLS, so straight from the source. And let me just talk about here a little bit on my website, just some of the things helping buyers and sellers here. And I won't spend too much time on here, but July is typically one of your slower months, and I've kind of felt that. I had some settlements coming up around that time. Some of them were delayed and kind of pushed into August. But let's talk about on the seller side. I had this one here in Selbyville, Delaware, just a little bit west of Fenwick. This home was actually what was in good condition. It's built in 2002, but a little bit, dated to that time, but very good condition. And it's about 1680 square feet, or exactly 1680 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So we were on the market a little bit over 60 days on here. So coming up to that average 65 days on the market, we were priced a bit higher at $835. We reduced down to $800, and the showing activity went through the roof on this. But we struck a deal on this, put it under contract in August, and we'll be going to settlement here towards the end of September. But great location, great community neighborhood there though. Just that little, well, we made a nice sizable reduction on that pricing because we were a bit overpriced, but just that adjustment there, put it under contract and found a good buyer for that home. Buyer's going to get a nice home too. So here's another example, working with the seller here in Ocean City. This is the Coral Seas building here right in Midtown. So we went on actually in August, about 2 weeks ago, but went under contract within a week and a half on this one. Of course, we priced it very competitive and aggressive because the seller didn't want to sit out there for forever. So got a contract, and it's super nice, turnkey, fully furnished. But this building was built in 2015. So nice amenities in there, nice location, price right. So it went way below the average days on the market that you'll see out there. But also I've had, which I don't have up on here, but I went to a set of buyers, purchased a vacant lot on the Maryland side. They grabbed a little piece, a little bit more in the country in Stockton, Maryland, but they're going to build something and kind of use that as their beach place there. I've got another set of buyer clients. We would put another smaller condo under contract on the bayside, a little bit of water view, amenities, not too far from the convention center in Ocean City. That one was priced pretty well, and we were able to work out a really good deal for the buyers on that one, going to settlement. But kind of gives you a little bit of feel of pretty good. Like I said, this time of year, mid-August and going into September, there's a little bit more action that's kind of starting to hype up, as you saw on the charts there. So, all right, so there we go. That is the breakdown of the July and August market update, what's going on here. Of course, if you had a question, make sure you leave a comment down below. Always pay attention to those, and we'll get back to you. And if the video has helped you out, make sure you share the love, click that like button, share it too. Of course, subscribe so you don't miss any of the content that I come out with every week. And there should be a video popping up here just right for you. And of course, until next time, I'll see you soon.